Hello, my name is Harper Boleski, and today I will be talking about the games, entertainment, and sports of the Anglo-Saxons. My partner Bella Bridgen will then speak on Anglo-Saxon warfare. Our two topics really connect well because many of the games and activities I will discuss helped prepare people, especially young men, for battle. Entertainment in the Anglo-Saxon world. In the Anglo-Saxon world, life was centered around community and survival. They often gathered at a place called a mead hall, where they would enjoy music and meals. Picture a crowded dark room where warriors share stories while firelight flickers on their faces. A musician called a shope would play a harp and sing heroic tales like Beowulf. It may have been something like this. For the Anglo-Saxons, entertainment wasn't just for fun. It reflected what mattered most: bravery, honor, and community. Even their games and sports prepared them for survival and warfare. Outdoor sports and competitions. Most Anglo-Saxons spent the majority of their lives outdoors, working the land or hunting. Their sports reflected this lifestyle. Horse and dog racing were big events, even mentioned in Beowulf. Men tested strength through wrestling, gymnastics, swimming races, and sometimes even skating in the winter. These weren't just fun, they were training. Young men practiced spear throwing, archery, and mock sword fighting also to prepare for real battles. Hunting and martial arts. Hunting was both a necessity and a sport. Wealthy Anglo-Saxons were able to hunt with falcons and trained dogs, while poor people hunted with their bare hands and whatever they had. But for everyone, it was practice for real combat. Many games like spear throwing and mock fights taught boys and men how to handle weapons, important for a society often at war. Indoor games and feasting. Inside the mead hall, entertainment took a different form. Feasts brought everyone together to celebrate victories or holidays. People played board games like Taffel, where a king tried to escape from attackers, and they also gambled with dice made from bone or antler. Riddles and word games showed off cleverness and humor. Many survive in the Exeter Book, which is a famous Old English manuscript. Music, poetry, and storytelling. Music and storytelling were vital to Anglo-Saxon culture. Professional poets, called shopes, entertained guests by singing heroic poems to the harp or lyre. These stories preserved history and celebrated bravery, loyalty, and honor, the same ideals we see in Beowulf. Dancing sometimes followed the songs, creating a joyful community atmosphere. Children's play and early training. In Anglo-Saxon civilization, children had a very short childhood. Anglo-Saxon kids played creatively using sticks, flowers, or bits of cloth as toys. Girls learned early house skills like cleaning, cooking, and caring for younger siblings, while boys managed animals and learned to handle small wooden spears and knives. These early games taught coordination and responsibility, laying the groundwork for the material skills Bella will discuss shortly. In closing, Anglo-Saxon entertainment was about more than passing time. Outdoor games and sports built strength and readiness. Indoor feasts and riddles built community. Music and stories kept the culture alive. Every form of entertainment reflected the values of honor, courage, and unity, just like in Beowulf. Now on to Bella for more information on weapons and warfare.
Thank you, Harper. On that note, let's get into Anglo-Saxon warfare and exactly what they were preparing for. Once we have this knowledge, we can fully appreciate the ability of Grendel and Beowulf and of Beowulf himself as his conqueror. Our topics of discussion today include warfare, arms, armor, sea axes, and tools. Warfare during the Anglo-Saxon time period was very prominent, as battles were very frequently fought due to frequent petty arguments between kings of different kingdoms. A king's role during this time period was that of a noble warrior. He was expected to be able to conquer lands and collect tribute to reward his loyal followers with. The king's warriors were often followers from his noble lands, and from other lands he would collect slaves to then provide for his own. The military system was represented through poetry. Juguth, or youth, would begin their adult lives serving in the household of their king or lord. Together they formed the king's personal retinue, living under his roof, protecting him in battle, and accompanying him in travel. Once they would retire, they were expected to raise more troops to then support the king in the future. Battle tactics. The battle tactics of the Anglo-Saxons usually included using a shield wall to defend themselves and then shoot over with using bow and arrows. They were close combat warriors who often fought on foot due to this. There is little evidence of them using horses, however, it has been represented before in art in nearby areas. They also used spears as a primary weapon, and some of the main roles were done by spearmen. Arms. The arms of the Anglo-Saxons, due to them being close combat, used various hand weapons in their battles. Common arms included bows and arrows, large shields, sea-axes, and spears. Elite warriors had further options, however, such as swords. Armor. To the Anglo-Saxons, armor was considered a luxury, with most ordinary warriors wearing nothing, or, has been theorized, wearing leather vambraces. The wealthy and elite, on the other hand, were provided with more protection. This included copper and iron helmets, along with chain mail garments. In literature, mail coifs, or hausbjerg, were described, although none have ever been found. Two artifacts of armor that have been uncovered, though, are the Coppergate helmet and the Sutton Hoo helmet, as pictured, which is presumed to have been owned by an Anglo-Saxon king. Sea-axes. Here we're going to dive deeper into the different sorts of sea-axes and where they came into play. A sea-axe is a family of weapons similar to knives, were commonly used on the battlefield and varied in type. A scramsax was a single-edged knife and the most ordinary kind. Secondly, a heed sea-axe had a blade which ranged from 7.5 centimeters to 35 centimeters. These were often used as butcher knives in the village, woodworking tools, and eating knives. Lastly, a lang sea-axe with a blade ranging from 54 to 75 centimeters, being used for killing animals. Last but certainly not least is our list of tools. The Anglo-Saxons were engaged in early forms of crafts such as metalwork and woodworking. Although there is little surviving artifacts as this, as wood degrades due to air and water, wooden dishes have been discovered due to water lodging. In this time period, they utilized multiple tools for their craft, including a pole lathe, which was their method of making said bowls, and various edged pieces of equipment, such as axes, adze, and chisels. Finally, we have our citation page and conclusion. Now that you understand the roots of our craftsmanship, fighting abilities, and games and entertainment, you can understand the abilities of Beowulf and the strength of Grendel. This correlation exists because it breaks down the Anglo-Saxon battle tactics, weapons, and militant organization. It is important to understand where our traditions come from in war and craft, and also entertainment in daily life, through our presentation now that has been accomplished. Thank you for your time and attention.